Hello. What you're about to see is a review I did in Philadelphia shortly after Christmas. I didn't originally post it because I couldn't get a good internet connection while I was away, and when I returned, I had some health issues. So, without any further ado, it's time for a review of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. I am so proud of you. The fact that I didn't even think you were going to win this one. I mean, I never thought that you would be able to get Rey to kill you and thus continue the Sith Order like you did. I mean, it's impossible. You did it. Amazing, man. Oh, major spoiler. Yeah, I saw Rise of Skywalker. Unbelievably stupid. The film is full of plot holes. It was paced like it was made for the Flash to watch. It was obvious that Rian Johnson's vision for Last Jedi completely conflicted whatever J.J. Abrams was hoping to do with it. I mean, that was the whole idea of Rey at the end of The Force Awakens holding up the lightsaber up to Luke. Of course, Rian Johnson immediately had Luke take it and throw it away. The Last Jedi was a mess. Instead of nothing but plot hole after plot hole. It was obvious that J.J. Abrams wanted Snoke to be the new Emperor. So obviously when Rian Johnson murdered him, it kind of made some things really bad. I love the first scene where Kylo Ren just went in and basically started mauling down these people, like really being real badass. Then, of course, we hear Palpatine's voice. And then, of course, we found out that somehow Palpatine survived. Somehow we get all these brand new Force powers that no one would be stupid enough to put in. Somehow the resistance continues. If you remember at the end of Last Jedi, there were about 15 left. I don't get it either. Then again, I mean, the First Order wasn't exactly in great shape either, which is kind of weird because the First Order kind of falls apart pretty quickly. It just basically becomes the Empire. There's no other explanation. It's just the Empire, the old Empire from the first 6 movies. Yeah. Everyone just forgets about the name, the First Order. It's now called the Final Order. Here we finally get to see Rey, Finn, and Poe finally go on an adventure with C-3PO. To this planet. It's basically like going to Burning Man for some reason. For all the rest of the movie, it's basically him chasing one MacGuffin after another. The first MacGuffin we get was a knife. And then it's like there's some weird language written on it. And C-3PO actually had in his head. It's kind of weird. One of the best scenes actually was C-3PO. Ironically, they had the most emotional scene was when he said, I want to turn back and see my friends for one final time. That'd be nice and all, except for the fact this is the first time we ever see C-3PO with the 3 of them. Another MacGuffin was this device somehow Kylo got in the first place. And then, there's 2 of them, and I think it's like a Sith Finder or something like that. Yeah, I mean, they have this weird stone that somehow is a GPS trying to find the rest of your people. You know, kind of like an Uber. You could basically trace where your car goes. You could trace where Sith goes. The funny part is, this thing goes so quick. You have all these questions, but this thing goes so quick you can't possibly start asking them. I'm just going to skip along because, yeah, there's quite a few things. Okay, I'm going to get to one of the stupidest moments was coming across on Endor the remains of the Death Star, which, by the way, something that big would probably cause a massive crater, almost twice the size of the impact crater that destroyed the dinosaurs. It's 30 years later, any life on that planet would be gone. And no more dressed up horses. Yeah, they actually dressed up horses instead of using CGI. I can't really fault J.J. Abrams for this because, I mean, too much CGI gets annoying after a while. we end up seeing the scenes from the trailer where Kylo and Rey have a massive fight by the ocean. This is here we start seeing Rey kind of starting to deal with her dark side. And then we find out the reason for the dark side. Spoiler. She's Palpatine's granddaughter. Good explanation why she's so powerful. Rey and Kylo are fighting. They're actually fighting in different places, and that's something new we find out about it, that you can actually interact with somebody in two completely different places. Okay, now I know I kind of Last Jedi, the cybernetic rattlesnakes storyline. Interesting enough, I do have another review coming up that is mentioned, and yes, I am on vacation, so. There's one planet where they actually get stuck and they're actually in a rattlesnake's den. And apparently the rattlesnake is injured, and we find out that you can actually force heal people. Yeah, you know, like Jesus. Rey's just Jesus now. She's Jesus. It would have been funny if Poe came up and told him this. Damn it, Rey. You gave him proof that there was something bigger and scarier to unite against, you little idiot. They would have died out after a couple of generations, but instead they dedicated themselves to making universe-destroying, unthought-out technology as time travel so they could all kill some little shit sack from Jakku who couldn't let a dying snake die. Why not? It would have been funny. Now, I got to talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the movie, Carrie Fisher. Now, an interesting part, they had a good chance to kill her off in the previous movie. You know, they haven't had a deck. They probably should have let her die in that scene. And yeah, it'd be kind of a stupid way to do it, but Kenny Valley and the way they were doing it, because first off, they had other characters speak for her. I am in a parking garage. It's pitch dark right now. Anyway, the scenes that she's being filmed in do not correspond well with the scenes that they actually put her in. And I finally had to do a death scene. And apparently, upon dying, she ends up contacting Kylo Ren. And Kylo's in a big fight. He's about to put the finishing blow on Rey. Calls him. And of course, Rey runs him through. But once again, she has freaking force healing power. Being run right through? Yeah, just put a Band-Aid on it. You're done. Walk it off. No trauma whatsoever. Interesting enough, Harrison Ford does make a cameo in this one. And Kevin Smith actually brought this up in his review. Reversal of the previous conversation from The Force Awakens. Almost like in reverse. Ben Solo decides to drop the Kylo Ren moniker. Rey goes back to the planet that Luke decides to die at. And finally, we get a good Luke scene. Rey throws away the lightsaber, and Luke catches it and says, "That's no way you treat a lightsaber." And finally says something of interest to Rey. You have everything you need to complete your journey. Actually even says that he helped train Leia. And of course, you know, Leia threw it away because she thought saw the death of her son, her training, and decides to let Rey to basically finish the training for her. You end up going to the planet that Kylo was on in the beginning of the movie. There we see it. Emperor Palpatine. Palpatine is connected to this device. It's keeping him alive. We find out that early in the film that Snoke is nothing more than just some type of a clone they designed. And somehow Palpatine's life force was kept inside the Force, and they made a clone of him. He wants Rey to basically cut him down so she can continue the clone lineage. She initially rejects him, and then of course Ben comes by, and he decides to suck the life force out of both of them, and all of a sudden regenerates to completely back to Palpatine, Return of the Jedi. My question is, why didn't he just do that before? But whatever. Palpatine disposes of Ben, and it turns to Rey. And there's another new thing that you could do. You can actually reach into a force and grab something from a completely different location as long as there's someone else force sensitive near it. 8 movies to establish it. This is the first time we hear of it. Grabs Ben Solo's lightsaber. 2 lightsabers basically offs Palpatine, where he just starts to disintegrate. Cuts Palpatine down. She gets all the spirits of the Sith, which means you won. I can't believe it. You completely won this whole thing. This film creates nothing but new questions and nothing but plot holes. This film was so all over the place. A whole trilogy out of it. You could have had some time to basically digest what's going on and possibly fill in some of these plot holes. But unfortunately, Kathleen Kennedy made the dumb decision of having 3 different directors direct these trilogy. You really need to have someone with a vision to look through it. Say what you want about the prequel. George Lucas had a vision. Progressed the story little by little each movie. This trilogy was all over the place. Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams' visions were completely different. They won't admit to it, but it was obvious they were in contrast of each other. The third director was fired. He took one look at Rian Johnson and said, I'd probably have to come out with a completely different movie. So J.J. Abrams literally had to make this huge exposition drop just to basically make something out of the story. If you decide to make a story map of this trilogy, it looked like a Jackson Pollock painting. I know people are going to criticize me. I thought the prequel trilogy was much better than this, because there was a defined beginning, middle, and end. This one, I have no idea where there's a beginning, middle, or end of it. I don't blame the actors. Surprisingly enough, the actors here did very well. Hell, I even love Billy D. Williams in this one, even though I only really brought him in for a glorified cameo. I love Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine. Palpatine is one of my favorite villains of all time. Oh yeah, this is Disney's sequel trilogy. So now I gotta give a grade to this thing. Sadly, I gotta be pretty nasty on it. I grew up with Star Wars. So yeah, I love Star Wars. I heard some other people talk about, namely Kevin Smith. And I'm actually pretty happy that Kevin Smith found some joy in this. He's the only major YouTuber that flat out said something good about this. So I guess I'm going to give this a C+. I've seen some worse franchise decisions this year, mainly because they both had dark subtitle. Why? I mean, it said this would have been much better if they made this 3 completely different films instead of just 1. Anyway, I'm going to have to leave this area now. My car battery's dying, and and it's getting very cold here. Haven't figured out by now I'm in Philadelphia. That's where I am. So anyway, have a good night.